listening to Second Wind with Joyce Buford, where women who are ready to expand their life adventure discover the tools to stop playing small and tap into the courage required to enjoy their second wind. Welcome.
Hello. Here we are with another wonderful show. You are going to love being here with Amanda Blaine. Awesome. But I want to tell you where I am and what I'm experiencing. I decided to take a retreat and attend a friend's birthday party in Santa Fe. Now, you all know, I think I probably shared that this is one of my spiritual places. It's where I connect with me again. And I did that the other morning, listening to the flute play in my hotel and watching the aspen leaves dancing through the breeze as I sat near a window. And I thought, oh, this is so peaceful. But even in my peaceful place, because of the pandemic, I have come to this hotel many, many, many times. And I came to the hotel with expectations. And even COVID has interrupted my expectations. There's no water in the room. There's no room service. These are simple things. But I found out, I found myself getting stressed in some respects because life had changed. And as we go forward, I think we need to sort of prepare ourselves for such situations. They're going to come up. They're going to keep coming up as we revisit places that we've visited before, but in the old way. Our brain goes back to how it was. It'll get you, honestly. It caught me. So anyway, just be aware of that. I think it's so important you do go and get outside of your normal routine. We're all needing to be recharged, reconnected with who we are. And so I would love the visit, but I just wanted to share that with you so that you'd be aware of it. So let's move on to our guest today. This is indeed going to be an interesting, revitalizing experience for you today. Our guest is Amanda Blaine. And Amanda is a yogic psychology specialist, therapeutic movement coach, writer, and speaker. Her personal experience with trauma recovery and international relations guide her work today, which is focused on assisting individuals to embody fresh possibilities in psyche, body, and soul. Since departing the corporate healthcare world in 2012, she has delivered personal development programs in the U.S., South America, and in the Middle East. So hang on, we're going to have a great show today. Welcome, Amanda.
Yes, thank you so much, Joyce, for inviting me here. Also, thank you for just being so vulnerable about your experiences in Santa Fe. I feel like that's so important for us to just be honest with what's showing up for us emotionally. And one other thing, the personal development programs, it wasn't South America, it was actually South Africa. So,
oh my goodness, I looked right at it and I said, my brain. So what was so interesting in reading your bio was that you were actually in the Peace Corps in a rural part of South Africa.
Yes.
And that must have been a really interesting experience.
Yes, it definitely was. I'm sorry, they're doing yard work outside my window. That was unexpected. It definitely was. It was an incredible experience that no amount of preparation or expectation could really get you ready for. Yeah.
Yes, I just can't imagine experiencing that. You must be much more adaptable than I, because that's a serious life change when you go from the comfort of corporate America living in the U.S. to a rural South Africa. So what really transpired or caused you to take? It sounds like that move was definitely a new direction for you. Would you share with us what that was that changed your momentum in life?
Yeah, absolutely. As far as the drive to work cross-culturally, that had really been something that I had dreamed of since I was a child. And, you know, I always saw it in my future, but as we get older, things become less about those dreams that we had when we were lying in bed awake at night as children, and more about how can I feel safe and supported and confident in the world. And so I went through school and joined the corporate world, and that was providing a sense of safety and support. And then I was what I would call a serial monogamist, meaning that I was always in a long-term relationship, and that was providing a sense of safety that was really kind of masking this fear of not being loved that I didn't even know I was carrying. And so that became masking that fear with relationships, professional relationships, and, you know, an intimate relationship. Masking that fear became more important, I guess, than everything else. And so finally, at age, I think I was around 27 or 28 back in 2012, my relationship ended, and my heart was crushed, and it brought back so many feelings of abandonment, and a bunch of old wounds were open. But I just felt the support of the universe and so much more just surround me, and just kind of showed me that, like, this is, yes, it's a death, but it's also a rebirth. And now what are those things that you've always wanted to do, that you've forgotten about? And so that's what led to the decision to join, in addition to, you know, really wanting to roll up my sleeves in the third world and work cross-culturally.
Well, I applaud you for not wanting to stay in the mold. You know, it really takes courage to step outside and get in the uncomfortable spot. So I really do applaud you for that, because, oh my gosh, look where you are now. It's awesome. I love it, as we're going to share all this with our listener today. So you did some studying to help in your growth or development as you went through some of this painful experience. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was so amazing. You know, I'm sure a lot of listeners have heard the quote, "When the student is ready, the teacher will appear." And that is exactly what I experienced. I had some people I was working with back in Chicago who were, you know, a bit older than me, who came in and they introduced the book, Louise Hay's book, "You Can Heal Your Life." And that became a huge opening for me. And then once I landed in the Peace Corps, I was ready to manifest some new teachers outside of just the Peace Corps training that I was already getting. And so I wrote in my journal one night and I said, "Dear universe, send me my new teachers. I am ready for my new teachers, and I will know it when I meet them." And lo and behold, the very next day I go to a training, and these two men, David Patient and Neil Orr, are getting ready to present a training. And they walk past my table, and they lay a pamphlet on the table, and they see that I'm reading Louise Hay's book. It was called The AIDS Book. She was working with a lot of people with AIDS back in the 80s. They saw the book and they said, yeah, we're very familiar with her work. And I just knew that they would be my new teachers. And then about 5 minutes later, David got in front of the room and said, "AIDS has been my greatest teacher." And I learned that he was one of the first people to ever be diagnosed as HIV positive back in 1983. Wow. He was given 6 months to live, and he lived another 34 years beyond that. And the way he did it was tapping into the connection between the psyche and the body. And then his partner, who was also my mentor, his working partner, Neil Orr, he was a psychoneuroimmunologist, and to simplify, that's just mind-body science. And he was a researcher, back in the 90s, and that's when he met David. And he learned that David, patient, through following his intuition, was doing all of the things that they were finding in their research that a person should do to remain healthy and overcome a viral infection. So I did a 1-year mentorship, apprenticeship with them. And yeah, and then there were other teachers along the way, but I'll stop there because maybe you have some other questions.
Well, I want to point out to my listeners out there that you did two things that are really good, and everybody agrees in the development world. You keep a ongoing diary or log, or what do you call it? Do you still maintain that?
So I had kept a journal for a long time. There was a point later in my healing journey, because I am someone who I am analytical, and I often would journal because I'm trying to figure something out and find a solution. And my later mentor, who is a body-centered psychotherapist, asked me to stop doing that for a while because it wasn't about finding the solution with my mind. It was about calming the mind and allowing myself to really feel and sense what was happening, what I was carrying. Yeah. So I found and now I journal again a lot, and I take breaks from time to time. So,
Yeah. So he was wanting to develop your intuitiveness. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. We don't really rely on that. I can't say I'm the best. I do get downloads and inner feelings, or grabbing in the stomach, or it just comes, and I think that's intuition. So however it gets there, I think it's really, really important that we reconnect with our inner work. So you, in your work, so describe to me what your work now is.
Sure. I will say that as far as my work goes, my own personal trauma has been my greatest teacher, in addition to so much training and incredible mentors. But what I'm doing today to be of service is I'm offering training. One is in the area of the psyche. So offering training that allows us to become more aware of what we're carrying around within our subconscious mind. The scientists have found that the subconscious mind is responsible for 95% or more of our perceptions. So nearly every conversation we have, every relationship we have, every emotional trigger is coming from some perception embedded within the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is a child approximately around the age of 7.
Oh, no.
Yes. And it's not to judge any of it. It's just that, our subconscious mind was pretty much formed by the age of 7, and it wasn't formed by it was formed through feeling and sensing. And when we're that age, everything that we're feeling and sensing that we experience is informing us of, this is my place in the world. This is what I do. This is what I do to receive love. This is what I have to do to feel safe. This is what I must do if I want to get attention. And this becomes a personality or a life strategy, as Carl Jung would call it. And we grow up believing that this is who we are, when really it's a survival mechanism. And there's nothing to judge about it. It's beautiful, but sometimes it's operating from that. When we're operating from that subconscious place, we're not necessarily making a conscious choice about it. And so my psyche, body, soul trainings are all about increasing awareness of your unique subconscious. And as you increase that awareness, you now have the capacity to make conscious choices to show up differently in the world. But it does require tuning into the psyche and the body in order for those changes to take root in our lives. And so I try to keep things simple and incredibly relevant by, offering topics. Like this month, I'm teaching in October. I think I have one on resolving resentment. And then next month in November, the workshop is the energetics of relationships. So it's all about relationship disharmony and emotional triggers in relationship.
Oh,
And
wow.
So it's going to be beautiful. And then in addition to that, I also offer weekly classes called Therapeutic Movement. These are happening online. And what's so unique about these is that I do a private consultation with every student who attends so that I understand what you're working with, what kind of stress shows up for you repetitively, and where does that stress sit in your body? How does it feel? And how can we reinstall some healthy movement patterns that are going to help to balance things off and dissolve that stress in both psyche and body?
Wow. That's quite a commitment to your people that sign up for that course, to take that time to do the interview. But I want to go back and visit something else first. Okay. So I'm a woman in 60-ish years, and I am still dealing with that same 77-year-old when I'm interacting with relationships. Is that correct? Is that what you said?
Most everyone is. Now, my mentor, the person I've worked with over the past 5 years to really do the deep subconscious and emotional healing, he would say that 99% of people are operating there. And there's nothing to shame about it. It's really a beautiful thing. I find it just so fascinating. It's like once you start not just taking the information, but once you start like really observing it within yourself and seeing the truth of it, it's empowering, because now you have awareness, which means you have choices available that you never had before. So the fact that anyone can awaken to this and work with it in their lives is just a really huge gift, I feel.
Step one by far is awareness, which you're saying is once you realize that happens, being aware is the number one step, right? And
Absolutely.
Then you can provide through your work and support that you give how we can transition from those feelings.
Absolutely. And it's a process of feeling safe enough to go inside and be with what is there, releasing that layer of shame so that you feel safe enough to just experience what's there, feel what's there, and bring love to that. And that's the big part, presence, just being present with what we carry rather than avoiding it and masking it or looking at it like it's a problem and we have to fix it. These things create a lot of blockages because we're not allowing just our full selves to be there without judgment. And that's the biggest piece.
Right. Now, could you just briefly give us a description of shame? Because when you say shame, I kind of get fuzzy. What does that mean for me?
Yeah. I can't give you like a textbook definition, but I can give you an example from my life. So I had dealt with some childhood trauma, and I'll just be specific. I had dealt with some sexual trauma, and it was one of those things that I felt like, I'm out of it now. No one ever has to know. I can't ever tell a lover because I just won't be lovable if they knew. Just a sense of I did something wrong or I'm dirty or all of this. And so that feeling of that I have something that I have to hide or that I'm not good enough because this experience exists in my past. That's how shame showed up for me. And as long as I stayed stuck in there, I could never do the deep work to free myself from everything beneath it.
Right. But the work that you presently do now has allowed you to free yourself from that shame.
Absolutely. I went through, this has been a process of many years, of, Yeah, first you learn to get safe with yourself and to admit that, there's some things I need to look at.
Yeah.
And then you train yourself to get safe with another, maybe trust a mentor.
Yes.
And then you train yourself to get safe with, being all of what you are with other people in your life. And so it's an ongoing journey for everyone, as you know, I'm sure, Joyce.
Oh, yes.
With all
I keep shucking. It's like an onion. I keep peeling layers.
Yeah. And I'm curious, I would like to ask you this, for myself, when I first started the journey, I was like in a rush to just get fixed and be all better, and some idea of I'll be perfect once I just get through this. And then now, being a little more seasoned in the work, there's, instead of, I know that there is no end. There is no final point that you arrive at. And now, instead of, some new layer to work with or to release, when that arises, I don't experience a feeling of shame or resistance, like, oh man, no, I don't want to look at this. I was supposed to be done already. Now it's just like, okay, cool. I'm going to learn so much from this. Let's go. So I'm curious for you, Joyce, how you have felt like, as that next layer starts revealing itself to you. Do you have a feeling of acceptance and celebration now?
I do. The transition that I went through, one of the most difficult for me, was the forgiveness thing. It was the divorce. Okay. And I think it's really hard for so many women in that particular situation, if that's the transition, to forgive their partner or, your loved one that walked off and left you, whatever. I think it's, and I was listening to a book the other day. I'm always listening to something. And I wish I could recall the name of it. Maybe it'll come. But it was another unlayering, if you will. And it just went, oh, well, I totally understand why he did this and that. And I'm talking 20 years ago, okay? Now, I'm not a slow learner, but sometimes when talking about emotions, it takes a little bit longer because you do have to do that inner work, And so anyway, for me, I'm in a much better, easier, loving place than I was when I started the journey of 20 years ago. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, definitely. It's so great to hear that. And just also just like, thank you for staying committed to your journey to 20 years of inner work. This work is so important, not just for our individual freedom, but when our hearts start opening, when we are healing the grievances, when we understand our own human condition better, then we have just more acceptance and understanding for others. And so we're not going to collect as many resentments over the years. There's just more love, more unconditional love that we have to offer, and that is available to the world, to our community. So I find the individual work such a huge service to the collective. And for people who say, I don't have time for that right now, I have to focus on something else, I just, always try to remind them that, like, this is the greatest service that you could ever offer. So,
well, I will say, because I did say I referred to understanding him, I also learned to understand me. Why did I need what I needed? And a lot of it goes back to that 7-year-old. I get it.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what's so fascinating. And we'll learn, we'll really explore this deeply in the Energetics of Relationship workshop, where we learn about Carl Jung had defined 8 different life strategies that most everybody is operating within. And most people have 1 to 2 dominant strategies. And as we understand, feel how this strategy shows up for ourselves, we can also start feeling and seeing it show up for other people. And the strategies are built on, one's need to feel safe in the world, one's need to feel supported, one's need to feel relevant or worthy. And when we see this, it's like, we can understand that even though people may have behavior that just, it feels maybe harmful to us or inappropriate or unacceptable or whatever it is, there's usually some need of needing to feel powerful or safe beneath it. And so as we get in touch with our own needs, I think that's where that like grace and understanding comes from for others as well.
Yes. Well, tell us about this workshop that is going to be offered in soon. Right?
Yes. So I've scheduled it for November 15th. It's going to be live. We'll do a live Zoom call, and it will be 2 hours of live discussion and deep exploration of subconscious perception. So understanding, your very unique subconscious perception. We're also going to talk about the psychology of emotional triggers versus a trauma trigger, because they are quite different in the way the brain and nervous system respond. And then we're going to move into a consciousness shift. So how do we move from the subconscious to the conscious mind to end cycles of stress and suffering?
That sounds good.
And then we'll also explore some self-soothing exercises. And this is, based on some of the trauma training and work that I've done of how to find a place of safety within yourself when you are amid overwhelm or shutdown. And then there's a third piece to this workshop, which is really exciting. So after that will be the 2 hours live. And then all participants will get access to a 1 hour recorded therapeutic movement session that will, and that will help us understand the physiological link to stress, trauma, conflict, and how to remap our neurons for liberation from these cycles. So super exciting.
Oh, it sounds wonderful. And that there's more detail than I have time right now to say, but we will refer back to this, how someone can sign up for this and be part of it. It doesn't matter where you are on this journey. It's all in its right time for you. So anyway, we are going to take a brief break, and we will come back to talk more with Amanda, because we have lots more to talk about. So don't leave, because she's got some good stuff for you to come back to. So take a break. We'll be back.
Transformational coach, motivational speaker, and author Joyce Buford returns after this short break. Close your eyes and imagine living your life without limits. Where would you go? Who would you meet? What would you do? During an Uncover Your Hidden Genius session, you will discover what's keeping you from living your life with purpose, passion, and fulfillment of your potential. You'll get a clear vision of the steps you need to take to uncover your hidden genius so that you can live a life without limits. Sessions can be done over the phone, Skype, or in person. Find out more at www.joycebufordempowers.com or by calling 903-287-0747.
We spend a lot of time in front of it, but do you know who invented the television set? The short answer is John Logie Baird, who invented the television set in 1925. The longer answer is that many people worked on different inventions that eventually came together to make a television set. The very first television show was a broadcast of the opening ceremony of the New York World's Fair in 1939. The first television commercial was for Bulova watches. The cost of that commercial? $4. And so began the herkle-durkle and thurgy-lurgy, or the idle relaxation of watching television. Of course, in the early days, we got a lot of exercise watching TV. We had to walk both ways to the television set to change the channel.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
Welcome back to this segment of Second Wind. Joyce Buford, the author of Effortless Happiness, continues in this segment to share insights that will help you live a life of greater purpose and filled with happiness. Now here's our host, author and coach, Joyce Buford.
Welcome back. Now, we're listening to Amanda Blaine today. But before we get back into our show, I want to remind you that there are things for you, there are gifts for you on my website, Joyce Buford Empowers. There you can get 5 easy steps to catch your second wind, what that would look like, what you could do to begin the journey if you have not. That's your resource that you can get for free. All you have to do is give me your name and how to get in touch, email. Now, the other thing that I want you to be aware of is that there is also the podcast show notes. Now, you know I've done over 300 podcasts because I've been doing this for 7 years. So there's lots of resources there. And all of us can benefit by going back, no matter how old the show is, and get some improvement from that. So please take the time to do that. And while you're there, be sure and share the show. So that's a lot I'm asking you to do, but I really would love for you to get the free benefit, to get the 5 steps to get you moving, and to also just explore the website a bit to realize there's so much offered there for you. So, Amanda, let's talk about your website, because your website is fascinating to me. I mean, I went there, I stayed for an hour or two, just going through all the different things. You offer so much. So, tell them about you, because you did do a name change. It's now not Amanda Blaine, but now it has a different title.
Yes. And thank you so much. That means a lot. I put a lot of hours into this website. So
it shows it.
Yeah. So the name is Psyche Body Soul. So it's just psychebodysoul.com. And there you will have access to a lot of great materials. You'll see all of the upcoming workshops, the therapeutic movement classes. But what I want to draw people's attention to today is the newly launched blog. This blog has 4 categories of content. One category is The Ripple, which was a column that I was doing for Illinois-based newspapers for 4 years. It's just about being a ripple of change in your community through your own personal growth and emotional healing. So that is there, really inspiring. And then the Feel Better Now section offers weekly video tutorials to reduce stress in your psyche and body. So that could look like a therapeutic movement or breathing exercise, but it's going to be a short, easily digestible video for you. And we'll post new content every week there. And then
Wonderful.
And then we have Against the Odds. And these are human interest stories that will include video, podcast, articles, but they're about people who have persevered through oppression, trauma, disease, mental illness, war, and beyond. So part of my work has been as a freelance journalist. I've interviewed nearly 100 combat veterans. I've interviewed Palestinians about what it's like to grow up under the Israeli military occupation. I have interviewed, people across the border in Israel, and just some beautiful stories there about what the human spirit is capable and how connected we really all are. And then also cross-cultural connections. This is going to happen once a month. It's a live online social gathering, and it will include a group of people who represent different parts of the world, and we will discuss an aspect of the human condition, mostly the emotional. We will address the current state of the world, and then we will discuss ideas for cooperating to create balanced social change. So really exciting. We're living in a time when, socializing is not what it used to be. And so I finding it very important that we connect with people from diverse backgrounds and continue to experience how connected we really are.
That just sounds wonderful. I mean, we have so few occasions where we can connect with somebody in the other part of the world. I know when the pandemic started, and I realized that the lady in China was having the same fear and doubt and uncertainty that I was having in Tyler, Texas. It was such a reality check. I mean, for once, the whole world was faced with the same fear and doubt and all of those emotions. And your show allows us to take that even deeper because of your questions. I think that is, if you are a listener out there that wants a better connection, a deeper connection with what other people in the world are feeling so that you can understand what you hear on the news and think for yourself, then that's where you need to be listening to Amanda. So you need to subscribe to this. Now, there is a charge, isn't there?
There is.
But it's nominal.
Yes. It's a $4.99 per month. And that's you're going to have unlimited access to this content that will literally nourish your psyche, nourish your body, and feed your soul as you, dive into these stories and meet these people and, see yourself in them. And, that's what it's really all about. It's, we're in a time when globally, the entire world is experiencing a sudden change, a collective trauma all at once. Yes. And we can harness the opportunity in that of realizing that, wow, just like you said, Joyce, she was in China experiencing the same fear and the doubt. When we can connect in that space, then we can, our hearts are open. We're in touch with our vulnerability. The differences don't matter. And there's an opportunity for cooperation like never before. At least I believe that, and I'm going to advocate for that and support that and as much as I can through this work. And I invite anyone listening to support it as well. Well,
the $4.99 is just very fair for what you're offering. I do have a question, though. When you're interviewing, are you interviewing women and men, or just because of the customs of the country, tend more men, or did you try to balance that in your interviews?
Actually, I'm interviewing women and men. And when I was in Palestine, I met this incredible woman who was working at the shoe shop. And she was dressed in modern, American, modern attire. It wasn't American attire, but it was modern, it looked American to me. And I said, wow, I was just shocked to see that, because everything I'd been programmed to believe about this part of the world, I didn't expect to see that. And I said, can I interview you? And she said, well, I've been up all night. I just came from my other job. I'm a nurse at a children's hospital. But why don't you come to my house for lunch and meet my kids and you can talk to me? And so,
well, how nice.
Yeah. And then I found out that she's actually, I don't know if listeners out there have ever seen the movie Patch Adams with Robin Williams, where he's a clown, kind of a clown doctor. Well, that's what this Palestinian woman also did. So It was amazing just to really get to see that so much of what we have seen through the mainstream channels is very rarely an accurate depiction of what life really is like. And that's what traveling has shown me.
That is a wonderful resource. We need that information to make us feel more like one and not at arms with each other, not at, they're out to get us, that type of fear that we can get into if we listen only to the news.
Yes.
So what a great service you're doing. I'm going to join, so I hope others will join me in joining and getting the benefit of Amanda's work that she's doing. But, We've talked a lot about the inner work, and sometimes doing inner work, since we're dealing with maybe the 7-year-old and we're trying to help her through understanding what she was doing. Oopsie, sorry. You never know when you're going to get a call. That totally messed my brain up. So we never know how we're reacting. And so it takes a lot of courage, I think, for somebody to decide they want to do really deep work. But the benefits are just amazing. So could you kind of talk a little bit about that so they could feel more comfortable about progressing?
Sure. The benefits, yeah. I always explain that every ounce of new awareness, just awareness, doesn't even have to be a new experience. Every ounce of new awareness that you gain opens you up to experiencing yourself in a brand new way. And that in itself, it has been so encouraging for me along the way, where it's like, an emotional trigger, a situation that would be so triggering my whole life. And all of a sudden I can walk past it with grace and ease and feel myself. It doesn't have to control me. Also that, the deeper I go within myself, I've become such a better friend, such a better partner. I was single for 5 years after my last relationship and started dating someone. And just the level of intimacy that you can have. And that makes life feel so much richer. I mean, so many of us are focusing on, we're trained to, focus on the house and the car and whatever you can get in the material world to make you feel like you've made it. And really what we're craving is just a deeper sense of connection. And that comes through this work. And so, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. And, when we talk about relationships, we think about, the male relationship, but I'm going to say, I'm always challenged by the mother-daughter. I'm out here at Santa Fe, I'm visiting with friends, we're discussing mother-daughter relationships. Those are sometimes some of the testiest relationships you can be in. And yet for some others, they're so totally different. But if I could get to find out how I could be totally different and my daughter could receive me, I'm in a win here. And so, you kind of know when things aren't exactly vibrating as they should. And it's always been that way. And yet I know I'm playing a role. And so it's important no matter what the relationship is. It can be the neighbor, can be your parents, whatever. It's so worth doing because you have a lot of life ahead of you. And if that relation can be a sweet relationship where you're actually supporting and present. Oh, what a win.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like a lot of it does boil down, usually with a relationship trigger, it's just that we've been triggered. Something has made us feel unsafe or undervalued. Yes. And it hurts so badly when that happens. But if we can get clear on what is that underlying emotion and do the work within ourselves, we quit perceiving the external world in such a way. We realize that it's not really the external world that's making us feel this way. The external world is mirroring what we're already carrying that is so deeply rooted. And then things shift. And as that happens, as people become triggered maybe with something we're doing, we can, instead of jumping on a defense of defending, I didn't mean it that way, or jumping on the defense, we can meet them in a place of empathy because we know that it's really about them possibly just feeling unsafe or undervalued. And we know what that feels like. And so there's this energy of unconditional empathy that can be present that wasn't possible before.
Yeah. Beautifully said, beautifully said. Okay, now I know you got an offer for my listener today, and would you please share those with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So Yes, the offer is to have an opportunity to attend the Energetics of Relationships workshop on November 15th. This will be a live online Zoom call. If you can't make the live time, it's okay because it will be recorded and you'll still get all of the goods, including a Google Classroom with many resources.
Awesome.
But if you want to attend that, I'm offering a 50% discount if you subscribe to my blog, and you can do that just by going to psychebodysoul.com, clicking the subscribe button. You subscribe there, and then you'll go to the Psyche workshop. You click on Psyche, see the Energetics of Relationship workshop, and you're going to enter this promo code. It's just going to be the number 50 and then the word off. So 50OOFF. And that will automatically discount it 50%, and you'll be all set.
Wow, that is generous. Because the full price for that is what, 100?
Is
that right?
It's 120 is the full price for that, and that's for 3 hours it's the 2 hours of live discussion and exploration, and then the 1 hour therapeutic movement. But the great thing is, because all of this will be recorded, you can go back and access the goods as much as you want, as well as the Google Classroom that has resources to assist you in your journey after the workshop.
Oh, I think the classroom would be fascinating. I know you have lots of good things because I've been to your website. Got on your website. So that's definitely, I'm going to be there, Amanda. So, because I just think it sounds like a great opportunity to grow and change and repair and all the good things. So thank you again for that offer. Now, this is not where you have that personal interview with someone, is it? That you referred to earlier?
Oh, no.
Consultation? No.
Yeah. So I will reach out and connect with people before the workshop. The consultation, it happens before. Obviously, if people wanted to do some one-on-one psyche body coaching with me, they absolutely could. And we, of course, that's all private and personalized. But for the therapeutic movement classes, that's what I offer a consultation for, because I used to teach in a studio, like a large group setting, and you would have people walking into a fitness or yoga studio, 20 people walk in, you've never talked to them before, you don't know what's going on in their bodies, and you're teaching a class not knowing what they really need. And so I'm not about doing that. So I keep these class sizes small. Sometimes there's a wait list, but I keep them small to make sure we get that one-on-one time beforehand, and that you get the personal care that you really need.
Well, it's all over Zoom, isn't it?
Yes.
That's awesome. I mean, the whole teaching world has changed with this pandemic, and I think there's some good things. I mean, being able to get your type of training in Tyler, Texas. Now, I will share, we do have some good teachers, but I know with your experience and your other work that it would be a powerful experience to be doing yoga with you. So I just think that's wonderful. That's something new that's come around with the pandemic that I like.
Yeah, definitely. And just to clarify, I mean, I am trained. I am a certified yoga teacher, but the therapeutic movement classes are drawing from other training that is in functional movement. It is trauma informed. It's bringing so it's not necessarily, you're not going to come in and twist your body into a yoga pose just for the sake of doing that. This is actually really much more focused on, it's more movement based. It's a lot of subtle movement. It's about breaking out of the habitual movement patterns that we use in our modern adult lives. And really just about tuning into where is the stress being held, and let's work with that specifically. So I hope that it clarifies a little bit.
So we all have points in our bodies where we handle our stress. Is that correct?
Yes, and it can be, it's unique for each person. But then there are also some things that are just, very consistent and universal. So that allows me to personalize a class and hit the specific needs of multiple students. So does that answer your question?
Yes, but can you tell if somebody's saying, well, I feel it in my tummy or my gut, can you tell what type of stress it is?
And that is exactly what we discuss in the one-on-one consultation, because it may vary for different people. There have been a lot of authors along the way who say, this particular emotion is held in this particular part of the body, but that's not always true. It really depends a lot more on how our brain is processing the event or situation that's causing the stress. So, we go into that in the consultation.
Yes. I've never been a yoga person. Primarily because I am so stiff. And that's probably the reason I need to be there. But anyway, we all are so different and unique. Why are some people just so stiff?
It's going to depend on the person. Some of it could be stress. Some of it is just, what postures are you taking every day in your modern adult life? What I work with, I'm not really, we do not do yoga postures in these classes, because it's not about taking some shape, for the sake of taking a shape. It is about what types of movement is natural human movement that you need to be more independent for longer in your life. And what are the essential skills that you need in order to regain some of that movement. And we work with building those skills, reinstalling those skills back into the body, because when we're just taking the same postures and movements every day, the body kind of forgets that it has so much more available. And we will start feeling stiff because, our fascia, this connective tissue that intersects layers of muscles and nerves and blood vessels, the fascia becomes sticky, or sort of, it's designed to support you in whatever shape that you're taking. And if you're taking the same shape for hours on end each day, the fascia is like creating an armor around that shape. So when you try to do something outside of that, it feels really sticky. So we deal a lot with the fascia in these classes.
Wow. That's so helpful to share that with us. Because the yoga position and I don't get along. So another position. So there's so much. I really do encourage you out there, the listener out there, to please go to her website. You will get a much better understanding of how Amanda works, because she has it represented across her website. So it really is a good thing to do. You'll better understand her work, other than what we've said today, and we've said a lot. But now you can see why I was so excited to have Amanda to come talk to us. She offers great growth. She offers really so much. And then with this new program of being able to reach and actually through the subscription program, being able to connect with people all over the world. Such a representative of your work in the Peace Corps, I think, where it was all planted. And little steps that, would you ever thought when you were leading corporate America you would be here, Amanda?
I mean, part of me knew, I feel like my soul knew. My soul knew when I was a child, and I get teary-eyed as you say that, because it finally feels like it's all coming to fruition, and I could not be more grateful. Couldn't be more grateful, Joyce, for you giving me an opportunity to share it with people. So thank you so much.
Oh. Well, I thank you for saying yes and being on the show. I have your picture up in front of me because I like that. I always ask my guests to give me a picture so I can look over at Amanda and see as she's connecting with me about her work. So anyway, Amanda, you've just been a delight. The knowledge that you have to offer people is just unbelievable. And the growth that somebody could have working with you is really it's really important that people realize what a jewel you are for them, can be for them. So thank you for being here. I appreciate all that work and all those interviews. I know, because I love doing interviews, and I think you are too. You're a kindred spirit. And so thank you. So as you go forward, your next move is, I mean, you just made a big one with this workshop and reworking your website. So that is your direction now.
Absolutely.
To connect the world.
Absolutely.
Love that.
Yep.
Yeah. So thank you very much. I love your work, and I appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Joyce. And thank you everyone who's listening. And I cannot wait to connect with all of you as well.
Thank you for being here, listeners. That one person out there that needed to hear this message today. I ask you to please go to Joyce Buford Empowers. Send me your name, sign up so that I can stay connected to you. I really care that you are being met through this podcast. I want you to walk away knowing Amanda's and all the other ladies that I interview on this podcast. So sharing the show is what I would ask you to do. Send it to that person out there that needs to have this message, or just you thought this was a great show and you want to share. So the other thing I'd ask you to do is go to Amanda's website, Psyche, what is it, Amanda?
PsycheBodySoul.com.
Yeah, awesome. So thank you for being here. We will be back next week and hope to see you on Amanda's program. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
Joyce Buford returns next week at the same time for another edition of Second Wind. Through the Joyce Buford Empowerment System, women are receiving the support they need through their transitions and are able to reclaim their true purpose with confidence. They receive the tools they need to map out new lives. You can find out more about her coaching services at joycebufordempowers.com.